Now, remember the true strongman truths. I've said this for years. Progress is achieved through compromise. That's number one. Progress is always achieved through compromise. Because when you do that, you involve individuals. If you just go with my way or the highway, that's that top-down mentality. That doesn't work for very long. Never has, never does. Number two, remember what the strongman always says. Liberalism is good. And I don't mean liberalism as far as liberalism is not leftist. Those are different. I'm talking about liberalism in free thinking, new ideas, thinking outside the box. That's the liberalism that I embrace. That's the liberalism that's good. Leftist liberalism, no, that's not liberalism. That's more top-down thinking, just somebody else running the show. What Koch is doing is truly liberal because it's thinking outside the box. He's partnering with organizations that have in the past differed in thought and differed in goals than he was all about. He's not changing his goals. He's not changing his point of view. But what he's doing is partnering with those that think differently than him and compromising for the common good. What Koch is doing is truly liberal, and compromising is going to help the most people. So we've talked about Charles Koch, an American, changing his way of thinking, changing his MO, and I think changing it for the good. If you put billions of dollars into helping the common cause, how can that be a bad thing? Now let's segue to Jack Ma. Who is Jack Ma? Well, Jack Ma is the chairman of Alibaba. Okay, Alibaba is kind of like the Amazon of China. Okay, except for they don't so much have warehouses, but Alibaba. If you buy something on Alibaba, you buy it, and what they do is they're like a middleman. They link you, the buyer, with another guy who's the seller, and they take a small piece of the action. Okay, that's how they work. Jack Ma was a school teacher in China, and he started Alibaba in his apartment building, okay, his one-room apartment. He started this multi-billion-dollar company. He's the richest man in China. He's worth almost $59 billion. A man worth $59 billion, an individual who just used to be a school teacher, worth $59 billion in a communist country. Nifty. And again, to have a multi-billionaire in a communist country, that's another story for another day. But he wanted to go public with another company he had. The company was called Ant. Okay. And Ant includes something called Alipay. Okay, and Alipay is kind of like Apple Pay, okay, kind of like Google Pay, but different because it's not only a mobile payment method, but it's a lifestyle app. And it's used by 70% of China's population. And not only do you pay your bills with Alipay, you can get loans, you can buy stocks. Alipay operates the country's largest mutual fund. The largest mutual fund in China is owned by Alipay. It's owned by Jack Ma. The largest mutual fund in the country is sold by Alipay. They own it and they sell shares in it in a communist country. Now, Ant was getting ready to have an IPO and go public in China. Think about this. In a communist country. I mean, with Alipay, you can get loans, you can buy stocks, you can buy from the country's largest mutual fund. 70% of all Chinese use it. It's opened the door to Chinese individuals that have never been open before. People are using Alipay instead of the traditional sources to spend, to save, and invest. Now, this sounds fantastic, right? Using Alipay instead of traditional sources. Here's the problem. The traditional sources in a communist country are ran or owned by the communist government. And Xi Jinping, the head of China, doesn't like this one bit. Now, who is Xi Jinping? Okay, I mentioned him before. Well, he's the president of China. Well, he's the General Secretary of the Communist Party. Well, he's the Central Military Commission, and he's he's the head of the Central Military Commission. And he's president for life in the People's Republic of China. In other words, he is head of the only political party that's allowed by law. He's the president of the country, and he runs the military. Him, not his party, not his government. He runs it. The individual runs it, and he runs it for life. Now, once upon a time, after Mao, after Zhou, after the rest of those guys, when Xi first came in, they thought, we're going to have regular elections to elect new general secretaries. So after Xi was in for a while, he had opposition. Okay, well, we're going to have an election coming up. So I'm going to run against you, and so is this guy. Well, Xi threw him in jail. He threw him in prison. So people got smart. They thought, okay, I can do one of two things. Either agree with Xi or go to prison. He will be president for life. And Xi personally squashed Ant like a bug. He squashed Ant like an ant, okay? There will be no IPO. And Ma has been reeled in big time for going against the wishes of the party, for going against the wishes of Xi Jinping. And if he doesn't back down, and if he stays in China and doesn't back down, he will be thrown into prison. Now, what could they charge him with? Well, they always charge you with crimes against the people. The People's Republic of China. It's owned by the people. No, it's not. It's 1.4 billion people dictated by Xi Jinping. That's what China is. And as soon as somebody like Jack Ma starts to show just a little bit of power, they're squashed like an ant. Now, why do I bring up Charles Koch, Jack Ma, and you in the same podcast, in the same conversation? Okay? Because all are very similar. Maybe Jack Ma and Charles Koch are a little bit more similar to themselves than to you and I. But they're smart, they're innovative, they're forward-thinking, they're liberal thinking. Remember, liberal by not the leftist way, but liberal as they think outside the box, okay? Koch has always moved forward with his business and ideas. When smart people move forward with ideas in a free society, good things happen. Always. At least when the people embrace it. Now, sometimes they don't. And if they continue on with these ideas in a free society that the people don't embrace, then the money dries up real quick. And in a free society, if it's not backed by money, it does not survive. The people stopped embracing Koch. He changed direction. People embraced Ma, and their jealous, power-hungry dictator of a leader for life squashed the innovation. Now, here's where you come in. Here in the U.S., and in other democratic societies, not just the U.S., we have the freedom to innovate. Chinese do not. Never, ever in the history of mankind has a dictatorship produced a successful society. It's never happened. Conspiracy theorists think of they mention the deep state. And I always hear about the deep state. And once upon a time, I halfway believed in it. Well, friends, the whole world was the deep state, ruled by a cabal until 1776. The United States started the breaking of the deep state. Now, how do you come in? How am I going to link you to Jack Ma and Charles Koch? Use the freedom you have to build your career, to build your wealth, to enjoy your family, to enjoy your friends. Use that innovation to work around the obstacles put in your way by this pandemic or put in your way by anything. Okay? Some people say, well, look at this election. Trump's out of office, so we can't possibly prosper. Yeah, you can. There's people who think, wow, Biden's in office now, so it's going to be smooth sailing and I don't have to put forth the effort. Yeah, you do. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you look at it realistically, the changes put forth by this election are probably going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, a 1, maybe a 2 for some people. I can't see it getting to a 3 for anyone. And had Trump won, I'd say it's the same thing. You can do it by yourself. You don't need government to help. That's how we differ from other societies. Okay, there's no Xi Jinping here, okay, or in Europe, or in India, or Japan, or Korea, or the Philippines, and I can go on and on and on and on and on. In any of those countries, and the other democracies throughout the world, if we don't like the leader, we just vote him out of office. Look, we don't like you. You're gone. We're going to have somebody else in charge. And if they don't do the job, we're going to elect them instead of you. I mean, we just did it here in this country. What is this, the 45th time now that we've had a successful transition of government? Now, I know they're still recounting votes as of today. That's the 14th of November. But we're going to have a peaceful transition of government. It's going to happen. It always has. And hopefully it always will. If we don't like a leader, we boot him. The only way Xi will be unseated in China is when he dies, either by natural causes, and he's only 67 years old. These Chinese leaders historically live in their 80s and 90s. So Xi will probably be in charge for 20, 25 more years if he dies by natural causes. Or there's a coup d'etat and somebody shoots him in the head. That's how those people are put out of office. But I would say that probably nobody listening to this podcast lives in the People's Republic of China. In fact, in looking at my demographics, I've never had a single download from the People's Republic of China. It's probably not legal for people in China to listen to my podcast. It's probably illegal. That's probably why we don't get it. I have had downloads in most every other country in the world. Small African countries, people have downloaded my podcast. I have a big following in India, believe it or not. 3 to 4% of all my downloads come from India. I never thought in a million years I would get that, but I do. We live in a free society, pandemic or not. If your guy was elected or not, if your job is affected by the pandemic or not, we still live in a free society. We can make those adjustments, we can make those changes, and we can be just fine. I can do it. You can do it. We can all do it because we live in that free society. Okay? Life is good. Enjoy it. And a happy weekend to you. And by the way, the drink that I had posted on the Facebook page Friday, it's called a Boulevardier. And it's a twist on a Negroni. It's 1 1/4 ounces of bourbon, 1 ounce of Campari, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, with a sliver of orange. That was my happy weekend. That was part of my rest. That was part of my enjoyment. Whether you're listening to this podcast in the morning, afternoon, weekend, weekday, take a breath. Enjoy yourself. Do things the way you want to do them. Control your own destiny. You can, because we live in a free society. That's it. We're done. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast. How do you get the podcast? Any place you get podcasts, I'm there. I've done a lot of work to make sure that I am on all formats. I don't think there's a format out there that's accessed that I'm not on, okay? I'm on just about every single one of them that don't make me pay. I'll say that. If they don't make me pay, I'm on them, all right? Or if you want to go ahead and send me an email, that's the easiest way. Send your email address to jamesstrongshow@hotmail.com. I will put you on the mailing list upon publication of the podcast. I will send you a link. You can download it and listen to it at your leisure. That's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. I'd love to hear your email comments. Send them to me if you would. So until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.